Welcome to this short unscripted video review of Rio 2, which was suggested to me by one of my $5 patrons. So, the same patron also suggested Rio, and I was pleasantly surprised with Rio. I wish that I had just sat down and watched it earlier, and I ended up really enjoying it. And I remember him telling me that Rio 2 wasn't quite as good as the first one, and I think I agree with him. Like, Rio 2 is not a bad movie in any way, shape, or form. I enjoyed watching it. But I think that the story of Rio 1 was more enjoyable. I think that the whole concept of two birds that don't really like each other learning to like each other while being chained together going through a really unique city, I think that that had a lot of appeal. And it's like the environments in Rio 2 were beautiful, like really well done. The Amazon jungle was perfectly realized. But at the same time, it's like once you've been in the Amazon jungle, you've kind of been there, if that makes any sense. It's like the Amazon jungle setting was enjoyable, but then it kind of became monotonous. And then it's like the final showdown where it's the birds versus the machines and the loggers. It's like that was actually sort of a breath of fresh air in terms of setting, because there's only so much you can do with bright, vibrant green. And yeah, I think that was one of the biggest complaints I have about Rio 2, just how much time they spend in the jungle. And every time that they are able to shake it up just a little bit, those are kind of the highlights of the things, like on the rivers or the Pit of Doom. Yeah. And I was surprised that they brought back the villain from the first movie, the evil bird. Only this time, it's like something snapped inside more than before, and he's decided that he needs to become a pompous thespian on his quest for revenge against Blue. And I think that I actually enjoyed him more that way than his portrayal in the first movie, especially his entourage. I can't remember his name, and I can't remember the names of the anteater or the frog. But I really liked the design of the frog, and I think that she was probably one of the most interesting characters from a pure visual standpoint. I think that her model was appealing. It had a really good way of showing off the frogginess of it. Like, I like her eyes. They did a good job with her eyes. And it's like, for a bunch of characters, just throwing on eyelashes is like sort of an obvious way to make him feminine. But I think that it worked with the frog character, and I don't remember her name. Like, that's kind of sad. In fact, I think that the only names I really remember are Filippo, Blue, and Jewel. I don't remember Jewel's dad's name. I don't even remember the name of their three kids. Yeah. So I think that the whole plot line of meeting Jewel's dad and her aunt, I'm not sure how, like, I think that Rio 2 might be another Kung Fu Panda 3 for me. And by that I mean it'll be a movie where I see it and I enjoy it when I see it for the first time. But I bet if I go and see this movie again in like 5 years, Rio 2, I think that I'll probably like it a lot more. And I think it'll take that long before I do see this movie again. Like, I enjoyed it, but I don't think that I want to watch it again anytime soon, if that makes any sense. Let's see. I I think that this movie had some really good throwaway jokes. Jokes that they don't really impact the story at all. They are just there to provide some comic relief. And to be honest, I think this movie actually needed as much comic relief as it could. Because I found that the whole plot of the humans coming in to, like, cut down all the trees, I found that that plot wasn't very appealing. It's like, I haven't seen Fern Gully, the Last Rainforest, in a hot minute. And by hot minute, I mean probably upwards of 15 years. But from what I remember, they really leaned into the humans coming in, logging everything. And that story sort of resonated more with me. Although I have no idea how it'll resonate now. I gotta watch that movie again sometime. But yeah, so I felt like that part of the plot wasn't very well developed, and the evil boss man going after the two human researchers, I don't even remember their names. I don't think that it didn't really resonate with me. But again, I think this might be another Kung Fu Panda 3. If I watch this again in 5 years, I'll probably enjoy it immensely, more than I did now. So, yeah, visually, I don't think that Rio 2 was much of an upgrade over Rio 1. Looking at the feathers on the birds, like, Rio 1 looked really good, and Rio 2 also looks really good. Although I think that the animation, like the actual, like, moving the character models around, I think that, especially for Blue, the main character, I think that was stronger in the first movie. The first movie did a really good job of exploring what it's like to have a bird with, big wings and no arms doing so many things with his legs. And it's like there were glimpses of that in Rio 2, but I think that on the whole, they didn't explore that sort of interesting character interaction with the world as much as they did in the first movie. So yeah, I think that the dance numbers were better in Rio 2. Like, it was actually, like, really interesting to see all the weird shapes and patterns that they were able to explore during the dance numbers when all the birds got together to basically dance and make shapes in the air. So yeah, I think that those were better than in the first movie. I think that the music was on par with the first movie. Like, the sort of local culture vibes in rhythms and sounds, I am not very good with music. Like, it took me forever to figure out that an artist I like had a lot of other music that I liked as well, and that all of it was awesome. And so, yeah, I don't know if I'm really the best judge, but with my limited knowledge of music, I felt like both Rio 1 and 2 were largely fine. Yeah, so one of the things, I've spoken at length at this before, that I really like in sequels is when couples that get together in the first movie end up being the dream team in the second movie, where it's like, yeah, they're working together, they're competent, things are going well. Things like How to Train Your Dragon, Hiccup and Astrid's relationship. Oh, that's such a good way to develop a relationship. Hotel Transylvania 2, such a good way of letting Jonathan and Mavis, like, yeah. I still need to see Hotel Transylvania 3 and 4. Is 4 even out yet? I don't even know. But I do need to see 3. Let's see. And Sheep and Wolves 2, when Gray and Bianca were infiltrating the enemy camp at night. So I really like that. And the two scientists, the humans, I think that they were trying to get towards that, but what they ended up really doing is just showing how much of, complete and utter dorks both of them were. And it's like, I guess that's endearing in its own way, but I like it when couples, are kicking butt and taking names. And Blue and Jewel, I think that there was a bit of that. But I kind of wish that the storyline of Blue confronting Jewel's dad, I feel like I wish that Blue had managed to prove himself to his father-in-law sooner. Like, get that whole, like, awkward son-in-law who's a total nerd and doesn't live up to, his birdly bird father-in-law's expectations. I wish that entire plot line, like, I think that plot line was good, but I think that it would have been better if they had resolved that and made it so that for a good half of the movie, Blue and his father-in-law were on the same page. They understood each other's strengths and weaknesses and respected each other's opinions. I feel like if that happened sooner, that would have been more satisfying to me. Because I guess I'm just not the biggest fan of long drawn out complications between people that really should be friends, characters that should be friends. So yeah, Rio 2. I enjoyed the movie. I am glad that my patron suggested it to me, and I hope that I will enjoy it more on the second viewing years down the line. Thanks for watching.